Hey, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to go over the top 5 PvP ships that you can get from the Zen Store. A couple of things to talk about, just get out of the way. The Hysperian Intel Battlecruiser that came with the summer event is still available. I think you can buy it out with Lobby all the way until December 5th. They basically gave us a completely free PvP ready ship just right out of the box. If you missed it, I'm not sure it's worth spending Lobby on, but it's hard to argue with. It's a very, very good ship. And you do get it account-wide if you buy it out. This is how I have it set up at the moment. I'm not going to do a full build video on this. And I would switch to a raise because it's a battlecruiser. But it's got a pretty high hull capacity. It has intel and pilot seating. And there's just a lot of ways to set it up to make it really good. It also comes with this console, the Dragon's Blood Flame Reactor. The active kind of burns your engine power and slows you down, so that might not be desirable, but 20% bonus to disruptor, electrical, and radiation damage. Those are all things that are pretty common in PvP, so that's really good. And the trait that comes on it, the 5 magics, it increases some engine power to make up for that console, and also gives you bonus damage to disruptor, as well as the same other things, electrical and radiation and so on. So it's good on both directed energy weapon builds if you're using disruptors, and it's also good on like science builds and that kind of thing. And it scales with engine power, so if I increase my engine power, you'll see that the bonus goes up, in this case, 35.25%, which is quite a bit. And remember that this electrical damage increase also benefits stuff like if I hover over the Lucaria Piezo-Polaron, it benefits that electrical damage hit right there. So there's just a lot of good things about this ship. You should definitely get it if you can. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about how I accumulate EC and trade for things on this account. Basically, like, anytime there is a sale like the one that's going on right now, these Infinity R&D boxes, the whales open these and gamble and try to get promo ships and all that stuff. And I know that on this account with my budget of $0 that I'm never going to be the kind of person who buys these and opens them. You know, the drop rate is just too low. Even if I bought 10 of these, it's very unlikely that I would actually get a ship out of it, and that would be a huge waste of Zen when I'm looking for kind of bang for the buck options here. So if you buy these, though, these sell for about 28 million EC a piece on the exchange, even during the sale right now. So there's 21 hours left. If I have 2,400 Zen right now, I actually could buy 2 or 3 of these and immediately make, you know, roughly 100 million per purchase. So if you're looking for like a Lobby ship, or you have a premium ship in mind that you're trying to earn on, you know, something, just buy these, sell them on the exchange, and then just buy whatever ship you want. You're much more likely to just get what you want that way rather than risking the gambling. Let the people who are really into the gambling do that side of things. And that kind of comes with the next part. Last time there was a 25% keys sale. I think it was all the way back in like February or something. I traded a ton of keys that I'd grinded dilithium for to get this T6 ship coupon because I think it was January something. There was a bundle. You got 3 of these T6 coupons that you could trade for 4,500 Zen. I didn't have 4,500 Zen at the time, so instead I bought keys and I traded so I could get a coupon. So I have a T6 coupon, and then I also have spent enough dilithium that I have 2,400 Zen, and 2,400 is enough to buy another Zen Store ship, a standard Zen Store ship, when they are on sale. So right now they are not on sale. They're 3,000 Zen, but when that sale comes, I will be able to buy 2 ships now. So one with Zen and one with this coupon. And that is kind of what prompted this particular video, is I have the event campaign of the year. I'm only 2 days away. And I see some people sometimes choose this 2 T6 coupon package. You can use that to buy 2 C-Store ships, like what I'm going to talk about further in this video. But I don't think that's really a good use of this reward, because you could get a lockbox or promo ship or 1,500 Lobi, which would cost you a ridiculous amount of money to get that much Lobi any other way. So last year, when I did the event campaign on this character, I chose the Lobi and I got the Zal Heavy Cruiser, and that was for the Invincible trait. This is really important in PvP. And the Walker, which I got for this console obfuscation screen, which is the one that makes the little green smoke come out like this, and it gives you bonus damage. And basically, while you're screened like this, you can't be damaged. So it's a good way to waste 20 seconds to sort of gather yourself, let your timers reset, you know, all that stuff. And then when you come out of it, you've got a bunch of bonus damage too. So it's just a really good console. So that's what I did last year. And I also waited for a Lobi sale. So that's another thing. When you're on a budget like this, if you take the Lobi, don't take the Lobi and then immediately buy something. Take the Lobi and wait. There will be a 20% Lobi sale, guaranteed at some point in the future. So just wait for it. Like if I were going to choose Lobi this year, I would wait until Thanksgiving or Black Friday or whatever the next, you know, like big Lobi sale is, and then I would buy whatever I need. This year, though, I'm probably going to pick a premium ship choice, but I'll do a separate thing on that. And then someone else mentioned with my free-to-play series that one of the issues with the series is that I already know what to buy. I've already planned out, you know, because I have my main account, which already has some of this stuff. And that's true. But that's kind of the point of these videos, right? I've already done the testing. I already have the information. I've already read the guides and read what other people in the PvP community are talking about, so I know what to buy. If I were not a person making YouTube videos, if I was just some random person that wanted to play PvP, I wouldn't just go buy stuff and test it to see if it works. I would look at what other people are using and what I know for sure will work, and I would buy that stuff first. You know, I know it's hard to resist the temptation, especially like when a new ship or a new bundle comes out or whatever, but let the other people buy stuff first to see if it's any good. And then if it is good, then you can buy it, you know, later or grind for it or whatever. It doesn't make sense to me to blow, like when you're on a tight budget. If I blow this, say a new ship comes out and I blow this 2400 Zen on a new ship and it sucks. I mean, it took me like 3 months or something to grind up that amount of Zen, and that's 3 months of time just completely wasted if it's not any good. So why take that risk? I mean, you can throw money at the game all you want. It's not going to make you a good player. So it's better to read the guides and get that fundamental knowledge. And that's what I'm trying to sort of impart with these videos. So, okay, let's get into the ship choices. And I just want to talk about something. All ships in the game come with 3 things. There's the ship itself. And I just want to bring up the wiki really quick. Here's an example ship, right? The Engineering Pilot Warbird. This is a staple. It's actually on the top 5 list, so I'll get to it in a little more detail soon. But when you're looking at the ships that you want to buy, either here on the wiki or in the Zen Store ships page, like if I go find this ship. Right, so when you're looking at this ship, and this new dialogue they added where you can actually hover over the trait and see what it does, I mean, that's pretty nice. But when you look at this, what are you looking at? Like, what do you think makes this ship good, right? Are you looking at forward weapons, aft weapons, hull capacity, can equip dual cannons, shield modifier, turn rate? Like, if that's what you're looking at, then you're wrong. The most important part of any ship, bar none, is the bridge officer station layout, right? Like, that's what makes a ship good or not. You could have a ship with the most perfect stats. It could have a 2.0 hull modifier and a turn rate of 40 and 8 device slots. And if the buff layout is terrible, it's not going to be a good ship, right? Like, there's tons of examples of this. In fact, one of the ships that I'm going to recommend has a pretty bad buff layout, and I'll mention that. But that ship, you're getting it for the console. It's kind of a different thing. So, right. So there's the ship itself, which is the bridge officer stations. And then the second part of any ship is the trait. What trait comes on the ship? And is that trait good? And more importantly, is that trait good on multiple types of ships? So like if you look at a ship like we look at a ship like the Somerville, right? Is this ship particularly good? No. Is the console any good? No. But the trait is like absolutely amazing for a very, very specific type of build, and that's science anomaly builds. So it's hard to recommend this ship to be one of the top choices because it has a trait that only does one thing. It only benefits one type of build. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the Hysperian, the trait that it comes with 5 magics, right? It's good on lots of different types of builds. It could be good on an anomaly build. It could be good on a disruptor build. It could be good on some other kind of fire, cold, radiation, whatever type of build. It's good for a lot of stuff instead of just one thing. So that should dictate to you how valuable it is. And then the other part of any ship is what console it comes with. And like on the Hysperian, again, there's the flame reactor. Is this the best console ever? Probably not, but it's still really good. You could use this console on a lot of different builds and it would be effective. But on the other hand, like the Somerville that I was just talking about, the console that comes on that, I wish I could hover over the console and it would show me the stats. Mycelial Spore Burst, but that console sucks. So like, the value proposition of this ship, you've got a mediocre ship, an outright bad console, but an excellent trait, but the trait's only good for one thing. So like, if you're on a really tight budget, is it worth expending all of your resources on a ship that's only going to benefit one specific build type? And if the only build type you do is science anomalies, then by all means, you should get this ship. But if you're going for a more balanced thing, like you're playing multiple types of builds or multiple characters or whatever, maybe it's not the best choice for you right now. It could be something that you grind for later. There are some other ships that have a little added extra, like the new Cyclone Intel Escort. So this one, you got the ship, you got the console, you got the trait, and you also have this Goal-type psionic resonator experimental weapon. Other ships come with like a special hangar pet. I think the Justiciar comes with something like that. Maybe not. Which one was it? I'll just show the First Strike bundle. Both of these ships come with a unique hangar pet. Is it a good hangar pet? Probably not. But that's like your little extra. So they all have the same 3 and plus that one extra thing. And the best ships are going to give you something useful in all 3 categories, which is why like the 13th, the 12th anniversary bundle, right? If you buy this whole bundle when it's on sale and you get the Mirror Strikewing Escort, right? The ship is pretty good. The trait is super good. The console, Cascading Subatomic Disruptions, is also extremely good. And as an added bonus, the Graviton Implosion Projector experimental weapon is also incredibly good. So like, bang for the buck wise, this might be maybe the best ship in the game, because between the experimental weapon, superior area denial, cascading subatomic, and the ship itself, which is above average, it's not the best ship ever, but it's better than average. This is a huge value proposition. Obviously, it's expensive because the only way to get it is to buy it in this bundle, and you get all this other stuff. But just for example, at the end of the event campaign, if I chose the premium Starship Choice Pack, it would be pretty tempting to pick up that ship because it's so good in so many categories. So something to consider there. Okay, so remember we're talking about PvP primarily. I might mention a few PvE related things, but that's not the focus of these videos. And keep in mind that a good ship build is the sum of multiple parts. The ship itself and the actual gear equipped on the ship is a really, really small part. I'm pretty tired, honestly, of seeing ship builds shared like around the web Discord or Reddit or whatever, where it's just like a blurry screenshot of the gear that's on the ship. That's like such a small, I mean, like what traits you have and what your bridge officer stations are and what your duty officers are is just as important as the ship itself, if not more important. I would argue that the bridge officer stations is like, if you're going to share any singular thing about the build and leave other things out, this is like the most important thing you have to share. You have to know what the bridge officer layout is. Otherwise, I can't help you. No one can help you because we don't know what you're doing. And if you don't understand this part, then you just need to read some other guides and brush up on how the powers interact and stuff. You know, like you can't have conflicts. You have to have a cooldown method, that kind of stuff. So I am also going to mention 2 different ships that are not regular Zen Store ships, but it's a good time to talk about them because they're going to influence later ships that you'll buy in the case of PvP. So absolutely must-have required ship, and currently on sale is the Risian Corvette. So this ship you can get for 4250 Zen, and it comes with this trait, Rhythmic Rumble. And Rhythmic Rumble, basically the speed that you're doing will give you damage resistance. So if you're going really, really fast, you have 200 damage resistance, 240 damage resistance. I'm in a battlecruiser, it's not even a fast ship, and I'm at 270 damage resistance, as well as a reduction in weapon power cost. That's going to increase the amount of damage that you're inflicting, especially with beam overload, because beam overload increases the power draw of beam weapons. So if you have weapon power cost reduction, then you're able to hit a little bit harder. So that's really, really good. It also comes with the Subspace Wake Generator console. It's not something I would use on every build, but it's like a stacking speed increase. So if you're kind of a hit and run type player, and you want some extra speed, that's a good console. And the experimental weapon that comes on this ship, the, where is it? Soliton Wave Impeller, right. So the Soliton Wave Impeller is one of the best experimental weapons in the game, if not the best. It increases in haste based on your engine power. So if you're at 125 engine power, I think it fires like every 2 seconds or something like that. Which is really, really effective because it also is 100% shield penetration. So it ignores shields, it's radiation damage, which means it also is increased by 5 magics, like we talked about before. So it's a very good experimental weapon. This ship right here, you could get just this ship, and it's not the best PvP ship, but for those of you who don't know, if you buy this ship, you can spend 2 fleet modules, like I have down here, on the pilot Risian Corvette, which has a full commander pilot seat. So you could use that ship in PvP, and maybe it wouldn't be the best ever, but it's pretty decent. So this is like a must buy. If you don't have this ship, ignore everything else at this point in the video and just go buy this ship. It's a must have. The next one to talk about is the legendary Jem'Hadar bundle, which I did purchase on this character as well. Right. And that comes with the legendary Jem'Hadar attack ship, you know, just like you see on screen. And the reason is the ship is arguably one of the best, if not the best, PvP ship in the game. You've got a commander pilot station. You've got a lieutenant commander intel station. There's no space wasted. You don't have too much tactical or too much science or anything like that. And because of these 2 universal lieutenant commander stations, one of which is intel, it also has a lot of flexibility. I've seen a couple different builds for this ship, all pretty effective. You could do unconventional systems. You could do not unconventional systems. It's just a really good ship. And the console that comes on it, Dominion Defense Screen, has a passive crit chance and crit severity, as well as a little shield hardness clicky. It's not the best survivability console, but you could definitely do worse. It also comes with quad polaron cannons, but again, cannons aren't really a thing in PvP. these annoying Vanguard wingmen that fly around you all the time, but it's not a big deal. And the experimental weapon is pretty bad on it, but you're getting it mainly for the ship. But the second part of this ship is that you get the Vanguard Specialist trait, which extends the duration of fire modes like surgical strikes, reroute reserves to weapons, and other stuff. And you also get Go for the Kill, which extends the duration of cannon rapid fire. I know I was just saying that cannons suck in PvP, but you know, in the future, I think rapid fire is one of the lowest performing fire modes. There's a chance that maybe they might buff it or something. You never know. So in the future, maybe that will be a good trait. But for right now, Vanguard Specialist is really important for building surgical strikes ships. But this ship on its own is a great beam overload platform. I've already done a video of ship builds on this. I've already flown this one. And when it's on sale, I think it was 4,500 Zen for a while, but I think it's 5,850 on a 35% off sale, which is pretty common. So wait for the 35% off sale and get it with the 5,850. But I'll talk about this trait a little bit for my number 1 pick when we get there. Okay, so let's just run down the list. So my number 5 pick is the Khaiell Engineering Pilot Warbird. And it's because it's such a classic. You know, this ship was a big part of PvP for a really long time. I think it came out in like 2017, or maybe it was the end of 2016. And it's been around for a long time, and it stayed relevant for a long time, even though it doesn't have intel. And the reason why you would buy this one and not... So there's a couple of equivalent ships. If I type in... right, so Engineering Pilot Warbird, if I go to the Klingon version is the Kui-2 Raptor, and the Federation version is the Ajax. And I'm specifically recommending the Romulan one, even though it has the lowest hull capacity, because it has a singularity core, which you get a little less overall power with the singularity core, but you get these jump abilities, the warp shadows, singularity jump, and even quantum absorption can all be really, really effective. Basically, I usually use warp shadows. So warp shadows, it sort of teleports you and it spawns these duplicates, and it makes you untargetable for, I think it's like 6 seconds or 2 seconds or something like that. It's not a lot, but if you're trapped in like a science spam hold or bubble or whatever, you can hit that and sort of teleport out and, you know, be safe in the same way that you might use evade target lock on an intel ship. So it's just a really, really good platform for a beam overload fighter. And it is older, so it doesn't come with like a great trait. You know, this is from the era when traits were like little incremental improvements instead of like wild sweeping, you know, ship changing traits like they are now. But you could do worse. You get 15% hull regeneration basically when you're at full throttle. And the console that comes on it, I don't have this ship on this character, but I can tell you it provides, I think it's 300 resistance to speed and turn rate debuff, something like that. So like if someone's using Plasma Storm or Chronoton torpedoes or you know, other types of flight speed debuffs and stuff, if you have that console on, the passive basically makes you immune to those effects. So you can make this ship really, really slippery between the Singularity Core and this console and all that other stuff. So it's just it's a good platform, and it's aged really, really well. The next one I'm going to talk about is for number 4, the Europa Battlecruiser. And I was talking before about ships that have really bad bridge officer layouts, and this is kind of one of them. So you have this Lieutenant Commander tack seat, Commander Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Command. I mean, you could still do a relatively decent, I don't know, like torp or tank or something on this. Like, it's not awful, but it's not very good either. But the trait, when you're below 50% health, it gives you this big heal, and it also heals allies around you, but only every 2 minutes. I probably wouldn't use that in super high-end stuff, but it's not terrible. But the reason for getting this ship is the overloaded SIF linkage console. So that console, I've showed it before in other videos. It gives you and all of your teammates 50% hull regen, as well as gives you 100 to 200 bonus damage resist, and bonus damage resist allows you to exceed the 75% resist cap. So I think you can hit like 90-something% resist with this console. And it also reduces the damage that all your teammates take by half, and then that radiation damage is dealt to you, but it's damage over time effect, so it's really easily cleared. So it's just a good console all around, and just a good one to have in the deck. And kind of on a related note, the number 3 choice is the Seneca command carrier. So this carrier, the trait is kind of worthless. Reduction in captain abilities, so like why wouldn't you just use intelligence agent attaché, right? So like that would be a wasted starship trait slot to use there. But the ship itself is full command, and you also have Miracle Worker. It's not the best ship, but it's pretty decent. It's pretty good for a carrier. You got 2 hangar bays and all this other stuff. Probably would use it more for PvE than PvP, although there is someone who does use it in PvP, and it's pretty tanky and effective. But the main reason for buying it is the console, again, just like the Europa. In this case, the non-baryonic buffer field. If you listen to like PvP chatter, a lot of people will say Seneca because it has this sort of like blue pulsing effect, so you can tell when someone uses it. But basically what happens is any damage that's over a certain threshold becomes cut in half, and then it turns into a damage over time over 6 seconds. So in PvP, where everyone is dealing very high damage, imagine someone deals a hit to you that's 20k. That 20k, while this console is active, and it lasts 30 seconds, by the way, that 20k hit becomes 10k spread out over 6 seconds. And because it's a damage over time, all you have to do is hit hazard emitters, or you could use a trait like, where is it? Reconstructive radiation removes damage over time effects every 30 seconds, right? So it's going to wipe that damage out completely as if you never even took it. So that's like pretty top tier right now, that console on this ship. So that's, if you have the Zen, that's a really, really good ship to buy. Number 2 is the Bozeman Intel Frigate. So the this one, it's another one of those examples where the bang for buck proposition is huge. You got a ship that is full Intel spec, and all of the seating besides the commander engineering, which you could use Surgical Strikes 3 on, it's all universal seating. So it lacks pilot, which is a shame. You have to run aux to damp in order to benefit from rhythmic rumble, but you could do a lot of different builds on this ship. I mean, it's excellent. You could do, I have a build video on this ship actually, on this same character, because it's one of the first ships I bought here. You can do a Surgical Strikes build. You could do make this Lieutenant Commander attack and do a beam overload build, like a traditional kind of cruiser build. It has a decently high hull capacity. It's a little clunky with the lower turn rate and all, but it's a 5.3, and it's very good. You should definitely consider this one. And don't get the fleet version. Actually get the Zen Store one, because you want the other parts that come with it. And that is the trait Temporal Surge, which I'm also using here on this Hysperian build. But essentially it gives you 100% crit chance, as well as a flight speed and turn rate buff for 10 seconds, and you can use it every 40. So that's basically 25% uptime on this very powerful clicky. And you can use this defensively to get out of a hold or something like that, or you can use it offensively for a damage boost, or to chase someone, maybe that's like running away. It's extremely effective, and something just to settle this debate once and for all. This thing where it says become untargetable for 10 seconds, okay? In PvP, it says right here, and it does actually work, it's been tested and verified, the untargetable effect in PvP only lasts 2 seconds. It has 80% duration reduction. So it's only 2 seconds of untargetable time. But 2 seconds of untargetable is enough to break out of like a parasitic ice hold or parliament bubble hold, or even just reposition real quick when no one is looking because they can't see you for 2 seconds. So there's a lot of benefits to that trait. Okay. And the number one choice right now, because this is the made a PvP ship, and obviously everyone who is familiar with the game at the moment knew this was going to be the number one choice, but I'm just putting it out there for everyone to know. The Terran Hydra Intel Destroyer is the number one ship right now. You've got a full commander intel station for surgical strikes. You could run beam overload if you wanted to. You could run scatter volley if you're using it for PvE. The Lieutenant Commander Engineering Station is a pilot station, so you could do Lambda 3. So it basically, and then you have these other seats that are universal, so it's really, really flexible. Basically, you could do pretty much any meta PvP build on this that you wanted. Now, it does have a lower turn rate, 14, compared to like the legendary Jem'Hadar that I showed earlier. So it's not as fast or maneuverable as like a beam overload ship like the legendary Jem'Hadar. But it is a 5.2 with an experimental weapon slot. A decently high hull modifier. It's 1.2 for those that prefer that kind of layout. The console on it's pretty terrible, and the trait on it is pretty terrible as well. But the ship is just so good that it's hard not to recommend anything else for the number one slot right now. So this is the one to get. This is the one to fly. You've seen the last like 8 videos I've uploaded have all been in Hydras, and there's a reason for that. It is the best ship available. So something to consider, because this is the ship that I'm going to use my coupon on here, and I'll probably do a separate video with like my free-to-play Hydra build. But something to consider, I was talking about that Vanguard Specialist trait that comes on the legendary Jem'Hadar. So Vanguard Specialist, it extends surgical strikes by 5 seconds. So you can have 100% uptime on surgical strikes. And it used to be really important. We always recommend the fire mode extenders for beam overload ships. And part of the reason for that is, and I don't have the fire mode extender because it comes on a low B ship that I don't have, which is what I was originally going to choose for the event campaign this year. But now I probably will do surgical strikes instead. But basically, you're healing with the colony consoles, right? It is tied to activating these abilities over and over again every 15 seconds. And any gaps in those activations result in arguably less healing, which keeps you alive. But on the Hydra, I don't know why I keep clicking the wrong thing there. On the Hydra, if you're using surgical strikes, you probably aren't using colony consoles, or you might use colony consoles. I did on my original Hydra build. I've still seen a couple people using them. But it's less important for you to be activating it every 15 seconds because your healing isn't tied to it. Your healing's coming from other sources on this build. So because of that, you could probably live without Vanguard Specialists. If you put surgical strikes on its own key and you activate it when you're going in for your attack run or whatever, and then when you just bug out for the 5 seconds that it's not up. The only drawback to that is I've had this happen many times, and anyone that's PvP'd for any extended duration can attest to this. There are tons of times where you're chasing someone and you're shooting them and they're like really, really close to dying. Like you almost got them, and then you have a misfire or your beam overload or your surgical strikes or whatever. It runs out and you're not buffed. And then all of a sudden you were dealing all this damage to them and it changes and you're just sort of biting at their ankles. You're barely doing anything. And that sucks because what would have gotten you a kill, you now have to wait 5 seconds or whatever for your fire mode to come back up so that you can finish them off. And in that 5 seconds, a smart player will disengage or go into obfuscation screen or whatever they need to do to get away from you. And then you're stuck flying around like, oh crap, I wish I had the extender on. So there's some pros and cons, and a lot of it's going to depend on your personal piloting style, whether the Jem'Hadar bundle is worth it to you. So, and I do have a couple of honorable mentions here that I just want to cover really quick, and I'm going to try to not talk about them in too much detail because I know this video is already really long. But a couple of honorable mentions. The Cyclone Intel Escort that just came out. It is kind of similar to the Hydra. You've got a full Intel station, a 5.2 layout, but you have a better turn rate of 17, a good amount of hull capacity, but you lose the pilot seat, so you don't get attack pattern lambda or any of that stuff. But you do still have this Lieutenant Commander Universal, but you're stuck with Lieutenant Commander Psi as well. But you have 2 seats that are Intel. You definitely could make a worse choice than this. In fact, I'd actually argue that the number 5 choice that I originally made, the Engineering Pilot Warbird, that might have been influenced a little bit by nostalgia. This might be the better ship because you've got your Intel abilities and all that stuff. And then for this Lieutenant Commander Psi, you just put some unconventional systems procs. You could do like tractor repulsors and jam sensors or something, and then you still have Photonic Officer and Science Team. That's actually not that bad. So you could do that and then use this Lieutenant Commander as an engineer. The experimental weapon that comes on it, the psionic resonator, is really nice. I was using it a little bit recently. I originally bought this ship for the console, which gives this huge damage to... where is it? Right, so this console, it gives a passive bonus to flanking damage, and when it's active, it dramatically increases flanking damage, and dramatic is right, it's like 150-something% flanking bonus. But sadly, it does not work in PvP. Basically, when you use this console, it spawns in a little copy of your ship, and then the very moment that the copy of your ship is gone, you lose the bonus. And for whatever reason, when you spawn in the copy of your ship, like your enemy doesn't even have to shoot it to kill it. It just sort of disappears on its own. It usually lasts like less than a second. I don't understand why. I don't know if that's a bug or what, but basically right now at the time of this video, this console is completely worthless on a PvP build or even a PvE build, I guess. But that was the original reason I got it. Maybe they'll fix it eventually. The ship itself is still really good. The experimental weapon is good. And the trait, it's not the best, but just imagine with me, if you're running a ship like this one that is Intel, you get 20% that increased damage is Cat 1, so 20% Cat 1, but 60% bonus flanking damage. So 60% bonus damage, which is Cat 2, to attacks in the rear arc. And that does work even if you don't have a ship with innate flanking bonus. So you don't have to fly a Raider, and you don't have to fly Intel primary spec to get that bonus 60% damage. So that's actually not a bad trait. If you're flying it on a ship with pilot, so say for example, I had the Hydra and I bought this ship, I would make sure that pilot is the first ability that I activate. And then I would get 40% Cat 1 as well as stacking engine power. Well, actually, I don't know what's better. 40% Cat 1 and engine power, or 20% Cat 1 but 60% flanking damage. I don't know. Up to you, I guess. If you think that you can guarantee flanking damage, then do the Intel one. Whatever you activate first, for the rest of the time you're on the map, that's what you get. So like if you come into an arena fight, you hit an Intel ability first, and then you get this, buff, the rest of the time. Anyway, so that's an honorable mention. It's a cool ship. I know a lot of people were clamoring for this one, and you could make a worse decision. Another one to talk about is the Equinox pilot ship. This one, it is a full pilot science ship. I actually bought the fleet version of this one with just fleet modules on this character. I did a build video and all this other stuff, and I think like right around the same time I did that build video, Something else came out. I can't remember what, but I ended up getting sidetracked. I just never did it. But I basically flew it like a regular beam overload dogfighter, right? It's a 4-2, so you're missing one forward weapon, and you don't have a experimental weapon slot, but you do have a secondary deflector. So you could do something kind of funny with that, like maybe have, like you've got your beam overload kind of set up like a standard dogfighter, but then you have like tractor repulsors and the inhibiting deflector, or maybe you could do like tachyon beam with a deteriorating deflector and hope that nobody clears the dot. People are going to clear the dot, so I would tell you not to bother on that one, but I'll leave that up to you testers out there. But the ship's not bad. The console it comes with is really bad, the nucleogenic ignition thing. It affects a lot of targets, but the heal doesn't really do very much, and the radiation damage is really a PvE only kind of thing. But the trait's really good. Synthetic good fortune. Every time you use a control ability or a pilot ability, and on these like modern Hydra builds and such, you're constantly rotating both pilot and control abilities. And this stacks up to it's 20% more crit chance, as well as 200 control expertise. So that'll help you stay out of trouble. And the only way that you lose these stacks is if someone subnukes you. So it's a pretty good trait. A lot of people use it. It's very good. Let's see. Next one to talk about, going in a totally different direction, is the Terran Eagle. This one, the trait's okay. You can get a free torp spread when you use pilot maneuvers or cloak. And the ship itself is full pilot and command. I used this one before a couple of times. The console that comes on it, reduces the shared cooldown between firing torpedoes. So if you want to build like a torpedo vapor kind of ship, this is probably one of the best platforms to do it on. Or you could take the console and the trait and put it on like the legendary Talis, which is kind of similar except full intel instead of full pilot. But this is a pretty good ship. There's a couple of reasons to possibly choose that one. Another good option is the Cabot command ship. Not necessarily for the ship itself. The console fires some kinetic damage torpedoes. They're just okay and they're not terrible, but the trait is pretty good. If you activate a regular weapon fire mode like fire at will or spread or whatever, if you combine this with entwined tactical matrices, basically is what I'm telling you. Combine this with ETM and hit your torp spreads and hit your FAW and your CSV or whatever. And if your target shield facing is down, including if it's down from something like carrier wave shield hacking or whatever, you deal this additional kinetic damage, and that additional kinetic damage can crit. So you have a free 21k kinetic damage that can crit through shields. If you're building one of those torpedo vapor things, it's a pretty good trait to have. And this ship actually comes in a bundle, comes in the bundle with the Bozeman and all that other stuff. So if you're the kind of person who, let me see, I can't remember what the bundle is actually called. Just bear with me 1 second here. The responder bundle, right. So if you're the kind of person who would rather just buy the bundle, wait for this to go on sale, right? And it even comes with a T6 coupon. So this bundle right here is a really good value proposition, right? Wait for it, the 35% sale, buy this bundle, and you get the Cabot, which you can use for your torpedo build. You get the Bozeman, which you can use for your torpedo build or your whatever builds. And you get a T6 coupon, which you could use to buy the Hydra if you don't already have it. So this is a really good bundle. I'm not doing a torpedo build on free-to-play, which is why I don't have it. But if I were, I definitely would have saved up and bought this ship. So this is a good bundle. The next one I'm just going to mention for science builds, the Andorian Shemesh. This is actually the first T6 ship that I got on this character. I got it for a couple of reasons. I needed a pilot ship to test stuff with, and this is a full pilot spec ship. It's not as good as the pilot Warbirds or the Hydra or the Jem'Hadar, that kind of thing. But it looks cool. I really like the way the ship looks. And you could do a lot worse. So it's still, you know, it's a 5.2. It's got an experimental weapon. It's got a commander pilot. There's not a lot of wasted space. It's a pretty good ship. The console sucks. But one of the reasons for getting it is for the trait Improved Gravity Well, which is really good on a science build because the gravity well lasts 40 seconds with a 40-second cooldown. So you could basically have infinite gravity well, and the aftershock gravity wells, like from the duty officer, also benefit from this trait. So if you get 4 aftershock gravity wells, you have 4 gravity wells that all last 40 seconds, plus your main gravity well that lasts 40 seconds. So you can just create like a constant cycle of just gravity wells everywhere. I mean, you've seen it in my arena footage, I'm sure, of people doing it. Gravity wells everywhere, and you combine it with spore-infused anomalies, and there's spores coming off of all of them, and all of that is just like electrical damage that's hurting everybody. It's a good trait to have for if you're going to do a science build. And also related to that, the next ship, of course, is the Somerville, and that's for spore-infused anomalies. Goes hand in hand. If you're doing a science build, if you have the Chemesh and the Somerville is spore-infused, and then maybe, I wouldn't buy it from the Zen store, but the Scryer is still very viable in high-end PvP. The trait sucks, and the console sucks. Only the ship is good. But just go buy the fleet version with your modules if that's what you're gonna do, if you're gonna do a ship. So a couple of things. It is upgrade weekend for a couple more hours here, and I have some Phoenix boxes that I've spent my remaining dill on. I don't think I'm gonna get enough dill to be able to buy another 10-pack from the store. But I bought these disruptors, so I have the disruptor wide angle, Terran disruptor. I went and grabbed the Nausicaan disruptor from the mission. And then I grabbed these 2 off the exchange because I think someone mispriced this. This one was like 1 million and this one was 800,000 or something. I'm sure they meant for it to be 8 million. Sorry, but free to play, I needed it. So I haven't decided which of these to use yet because one of these slots will be taken up by the by this, and then the Martok and just a standard crafted Omni. And the last Red Alert event awarded a epic upgrade or whatever thing, and I use it to epic out this gold this Omni. So those are my rear weapon slots for the Hydra, which is what I'm going to be working towards. And then some combination of these, which I will try my best to upgrade this while this event is still going on. And I also grabbed some targeting linked disruptor dual beam banks that I haven't finished upgrading, but I did re-engineer to crit damage, and I'll use those on the Jem'Hadar if I feel like doing beam overload again. So anyway, that's all I have. I'll do a free-to-play Hydra build a bit later. Thanks for watching, and have a good one. Bye.